Good evening, visitors, and welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Dan Hiscock, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Colonel Ping Han Chua. We warmly welcome the family of Flight Lieutenant George Bruce Loder, whose story will be told shortly. We also acknowledge Group Captain Ernie Walsh, representing the Air Force Association. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Service Clubs Association. And we warmly welcome those members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. If you wish to and you're able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament. Flowers of the forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Flight Lieutenant George Bruce Loder. George Loder was born on the 13th of October 1918 in the Sydney suburb of Burwood, the eldest son of Arthur and Elsie Loder. He attended Hunters Hill Public School, then Fort Street High School, and went on to work as an accounts clerk for the New South Wales Public Trustees. George was a foundation member and inaugural secretary of the New South Wales Trampers Bushwalkers Club. He also enjoyed writing poetry. George Loder enrolled in the Royal Australian Air Force Reserve in September 1940. At the time, he was part of the militia, serving as a signaller with the 2nd Division Signals. On the 14th of May 1941, 22-year-old Loder married Betty Ellis. The following month, on the 22nd of June 1941, he enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force. After initial training at Bradfield Park, Loder began training as an air observer and then as a navigator. On the 18th of September 1941, he embarked from Sydney, bound for overseas service. As part of the Empire Air Training Scheme, he was one of almost 27,500 RAAF pilots, navigators, wireless operators, air gunners, and flight engineers who, throughout the course of the war, joined Royal Air Force squadrons or Australian squadrons based in Britain. Transiting through San Francisco, Loder arrived in Vancouver, Canada in October. He attended Air Observer School in Edmonton, Bomb and Gunnery School in Lethbridge, and then Air Navigator School in Rivers. In 1942, February, Betty gave birth to a daughter, Elizabeth. Loder left Canada in May 1942 for the United Kingdom and attended Air Observer School in Bobbington. In July 1942, he was posted to No. 27 Operational Training Unit, based at RAF Litchfield, where he trained with the night bomber crew in a Vickers Wellington twin-engine long-range medium bomber. In November, he joined No. 460 Squadron, which flew the most bombing raids of any Australian squadron. It was credited with the greatest tonnage of bombs and suffered the highest number of losses among all the Australian squadrons. Loder, however, would survive his time with No. 460 Squadron, going on to be posted to the Royal Air Force's No. 156 Squadron in March 1943. On the night of 20th December 1943, Flight Lieutenant Loder was a navigator aboard an Avro Lancaster 4-engine heavy bomber that took part in a bombing raid on Flight. The crew was on its 40th operation, which would prove to be its last. Later information indicated that the aircraft had been shot down by night fighters near Laubach. The aircraft exploded in midair and wreckage was strewn over a wide area. All of the crew members were killed, including George Loder, who was 25 years old. Loder was posthumously awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross. The medal was handed to Elizabeth, the daughter he had never met, on the 5th of August, 1944. Today, George Loder's remains lie in Hanover War Cemetery under the inscription, "Greater love hath no man than this." His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. A photograph of Flight Lieutenant Loder and his wife Betty is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. His is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We will now remember Flight Lieutenant George Bruce Loder, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please be upstanding for the reading of the Ode and sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We'll leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorials Development Project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.